So my favorite scene in this movie, I remember way back when, I remember it being the trailers a lot, was the scene at the mall where the fangirls like ask Prince Char, they're like, can you run fast? And he's like, not particularly, no. Why? And they're like, get him. I remember that being like in the trailers and like that scene cracked me up. And like honestly, rewatching it now, I'm like, actually, this is still really funny. I loved
It's really cute. And I love the way he plays it because he's just like, no, not particularly. Why? And then they're like, just storm him. And I'm like, yeah, I love it feels so true to like 2000s fangirl. And I love
it.
it.
I know. As a fangirl, I was like, I feel like I should be offended by betrayal fangirls in this movie. But at the same time, I just think it's really funny. I'm like, yeah,
It is
yeah,
so funny.
I'm with
I love the way they do it. It's so good.
you.
Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Real Thesis podcast. I'm Shalini.
I'm Liana.
And this is a podcast where we like to analyze films. And usually we like to analyze the films from all angles, look at the themes, really trying to see what the story is saying and look at how the screenwriting and the filmmaking really lends to telling that story.
Today we're doing a little bit more of a casual hang. I've nicknamed it Booksmart because Booksmart both is a very smart, intelligent film and also a comedy and very silly about two girls who are both very smart and trying to have a night of fun. And that's kind of what we're doing. We are having girly drinks, girly movie, girly talks, and talking about do you want to tell us what we're talking about today?
Yes, today we are talking about a 2004 film, Ella Enchanted, based on the book by Gail Carson Levine. It
Love
came out
it.
in 1997. So yeah, we're going to talk about the book. We're going to talk about the film. We're not going to go into a lot of depth, but we're just going to talk about some things that came up for us. We're going to chat about the book, but we're also going to talk about just Cinderella stories and just some bigger concepts around fairy tales. So it's going to be a very
Mhm.
fun, laid back discussion.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. I love this book. This has actually been both of our favorite books for years. We have both easily read it over 10 times. And we are not as big fans of the movie. I love it as a separate entity, but there's a lot to discuss when we're just comparing the two. Do you
Yeah.
want to kind of give not necessarily maybe a recap, but give us a synopsis on what the story is?
Yeah. So the story, I'll go with the film first.
Yeah.
Ella Enchanted is about a girl who is cursed with being obedient. And she's forbidden at a very young age from telling everybody, but she has to live her life just being obedient. Her mother dies when she's quite young, and so her father remarries another woman who has two stepdaughters. And they eventually catch on to the fact that Ella knows how to be obedient. They force her to do a lot of things that she's not happy with, and she's just very miserable. So she's intent on breaking this curse. So she embarks on a journey to break the curse, and on the way, she runs into elves and ogres, and is basically trying to find this magical fairy who will break the curse for her. And while she's on this journey, she becomes really good friends with Prince Char, and they end up falling in love. Unfortunately, the king, so Prince Char's parents have died, and his uncle, he's not a king, but he's kind of like a
Mhm.
standing ruler at the moment. So maybe King
Yeah.
Edward. He finds out that like Char likes Ella, but he also catches on, the stepsisters tell him that Ella will be obedient. So he orders Ella to kill Char. She almost does, but she's able to break the curse. But Char realizes this, and Ella is imprisoned. And just before Char becomes king, he basically is about to be the crown is poisoned, and so he's about to be coronated as king, but he's
Mhm.
going to die because actually it's not
It's
Edward, it's
Edgar.
Edgar. Yeah,
Hmm.
Edgar has poisoned the crown, so he's really going to kill Char.
Hmm.
Just before all this happens, Ella is able to break out of the prison. She goes and rescues Char. Now that she is broken free from the curse, she tells him everything. They defeat Edgar and they get married and live happily ever after. And that's the
Hmm.
film, which is super different from the book.
So I will let you also explain the book, or at least give a brief rundown. But the main difference is that this book is a Cinderella adaptation, and the movie pretty much throws that out the window.
Yeah, I guess let's just dive into the movie.
Yeah, let's do
So I
it.
guess we both saw it in 2004.
Hmm.
And did you like it at the time at all, or not really?
I definitely did. I can't remember which one came first, the book or the movie, but I'm pretty sure it was the movie. I think I enjoyed it. It stayed in my mind as like iconography when I think of fairy tale movies.
Wow.
However, with getting older and also reading the book many times and it being one of my absolute all-time favorites, I was like, I hate this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what do you
I
think?
have I guess I have a different relationship because I read the book. Same. I've read the book so many times. I think I've officially read the book through and through 17 times.
Hmm.
But as I've gotten older, I actually just flip to like certain chapters and
Yeah.
read like some really fairy tale chapters. So I've read this book so many times.
Mhm.
So I had read it like maybe like 10 times when I saw the movie, and the movie is nothing like it. And the movie,
Yeah.
like let's get into it. Yeah, let's get into the
Yeah.
tone and stuff. So the tone is very like book aside, we're gonna get into the book later. Movie,
Yeah.
just chatting movie. It
Yeah.
is a very like rompy, I don't know how you would say it,
Tongue in cheek is the words
tongue
that
in
keep coming to my mind.
cheek.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very like tongue in cheek. It's very silly. Um,
Hmm.
it's such a like playful tone for a fairy tale.
Very farcical, I think is even
Farcical.
is a word for it. I saw
Yeah.
people describing it in the genre of modern fairy tales, which is this collection of movies like Shrek, which Shrek is kind of the one I think that started off this craze in the 2000s. But the Shrek series, there is this one, there's a lot more, but I'll even throw in Gallivant there, the TV show, like
Yeah.
where these movies where like um have a fairy tale setting, have fairy tale characters, but also throw in a lot of anachronistic modern elements. It's and not even just including like in a jokey way, but like there's a mall and there's whole scenes that take place at the mall, and there is modern music in this one, and there is like it is very much still in the medieval times, but it is like it's kind of modernized, and I don't think that's bad. I don't necessarily think that is bad. But this one in particular is very much trying to get you to laugh. It's very much trying to be a family movie, and I think it is trying too hard to appeal to too many people at once. So it's being very silly while trying to be earnest, and it doesn't quite work as well as it should.
Yeah. I think you touched on so many things that I was thinking about. And something I wondered was like, who the heck is the audience for this? Because
Hmm.
I didn't know. It's a PG film. It's a PG film, but like everything about it is acting so like it's such a romp. Um, it's so playful, and I do think that like there was a moment where I was like, why isn't this just a cartoon? Like it felt like the
Yeah,
tone of Shrek.
it's very cartoonish.
It's so cartoonish, and like Shrek, I think Shrek came out in 2001, and I looked it up, and
Hmm.
Shrek 2 came out this year, the same year. So like this film
Oh,
reminded me so much of Shrek 2, which amps the
very
like,
similar.
yeah, and I was like,
But I think,
yeah,
but I think that's a movie that does it really well because it still maintains a strong storyline. Whereas
yeah.
this one, not that it has a bad storyline, but I think it constantly undercuts itself with the humor. And that's
Yeah,
why I'm kind of saying that I'm like, I don't even know who this humor is supposed to be directed at. Like,
I don't know. And like, okay, so everything in the film feels like over the top and ridiculous, except for
mhm.
Ella and except for Char. And
Yes.
I don't know, like in one ways, I did like how the world has adapted. Like you mentioned, like they have
Mhm.
a mall. And so you were describing a scene where all these girls storm Char at the beginning, and it's because he has to go to
Yes.
a mall opening. But the mall opening is just
Yeah.
like the center of the village, but it's a mall opening.
It's a mall
Um,
opening.
and there's another scene where they have like a moving escalator, but it's just like the wooden stairs, but somehow they're
Yeah, and
like
someone's
moving.
moving.
Yeah, so it's like funny. Like it really is meant to take our like modern world and adapt it. And it's cute in
Yeah.
some ways. And
And even
oh,
even the fan club. Oh yeah, go on.
I was just gonna say the glass slipper, right next to the glass slipper, they have like glass sneakers. Like,
That's so funny. I didn't catch that.
yeah.
But even the fan club, like having a fan club, and you have the president fan club, and she has like a pin-up poster of Char, but it's like a drawing of him. Like
Yeah.
I love these elements. In theory, I love them. But then there was also many times where the characters are just being very witty and smart. But then there's other times when it will be Ella doing martial arts, which, not that it's not fun, but it's a little cringe looking at it 20 years later. You're like, okay, like this is a
Well,
serious moment. She's about to get eaten by ogres.
yeah, it annoyed me when she did that because the reason she did martial arts is because Slannon, the elf she was traveling with, was giving her directions. So he was
Oh,
like, kick
yeah.
her
Oh,
butt.
for robbers. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for the robbers, yeah. But then later, she just magically knows at the very end, she magically knows how to sword
Yeah.
fight. And I was like, but she never did. She only
And
was
she
like, yeah,
able to do it because he told her to. And yeah, and then she like does like a flying like kick. And
yeah,
then there's like, and again, it gets silly because it's silly and it's fun. And I'm not saying it doesn't work, but it also this movie was simultaneously, I was like, there'd be such moments of like, wow, this is a really touching moment. And then it would immediately be something so cringy. But I was gonna say at the end, there's like the ninja red guards that appear and suddenly start fighting in the big fight, and you're like, okay, like
but why? Yeah,
it's funny, and I get it. It's a family movie, um, but we're allowed to rag on it because there's a better version of it that exists. But as we're ragging, what else you got?
yeah. Oh, yeah, many rags. Okay, so Shrek worked because Shrek is a kid's film, but I think the thing, and DreamWorks is good at this, but they really had a lot of jokes that parents could enjoy. So
Yeah,
it was like this movie is for kids, and this movie is the parent for the parents who are taking the kids. I didn't
I
know
think,
who this film was for
yeah.
at all. Like
Hmm.
it just felt so. I mean, we already talked about this, but yeah, what were you gonna say?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I was like, I actually feel like Shrek is more of an adult film. Like,
Oh
I
yeah,
don't even know if it is really for kids.
that's true.
Um,
Yeah,
but that's the thing, it knows its audience. It knows exactly
it
who
knows
it
the
was going
audience.
for. Whereas I don't think necessarily that this one was.
No.
It was not a seamless blending of it. But there were moments, I will say, especially in terms of the modernization, I did appreciate moments like um when she's in the mall and she's trying to run away and people are stopping her being like, buy this, buy that. Like I thought that was interesting because yeah, that's exactly actually where my mind went when I first am knowing the story about a girl who's cursed to be obedient. I'm like, yeah, you're constantly getting advertisements telling you to do something. What are you supposed to do in that situation? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I
That's
did
a good
appreciate that
point.
touch.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
is a good touch. And they do have like they have scenes where the girls are like touring the cat like girls who are a fan of Prince Charles, they tour the castle. Like it was really funny in that regard. Yeah. So it's a weirdly stacked cast in the sense that it
Yeah.
has Anne Hathaway. It has Hugh Dancy, but I remember this was the first thing I ever saw him in. So I don't know if it helped him
Yeah,
become big.
I think he was rising as like a rom-com
Mm,
star at this moment.
yeah. And it has Minnie Driver, Vivica Fox, I'm trying to remember the other guy's name.
Uh, Carrie Elwes?
Elwes. So the guy who
Forgive me, it might
plays
be Princess Bride.
Wesley.
Forgive me, I'm probably messing up his name.
Yeah, but he plays Wesley, the Princess Bride.
Right.
Yeah, and why the hell do you think they cast him?
It's a good question. He seems to be having a lot of fun in this role, and it could be really just something like he just wanted to do a fun fairy tale role. But
Yeah,
I personally thought it was really funny because, yeah, he plays the hero in The Princess Bride, and to play like the scheming evil uncle in this, I just thought was a fun reversal as well as a fun tone to set it make it we're already picture him as a fairy tale character, so I feel like
yeah,
it already added to that fairy tale tone of the movie.
that's true. Yeah, I never thought about it like
Yeah.
that. He's so unrecognizable, I guess, because you're normally used to him in lighter hair color, and he has like very dark
Hmm.
hair and
Hmm.
a goatee and stuff. But yeah, I could tell he was familiar, but I couldn't recognize him fully.
Hmm.
Um, Yeah, that's true. It is like almost being typecast, but in a totally different way. Like you get to
Yeah.
in that regard, it was very fun. Like you get to be very irreverent with it and be
Very
like,
rare. Yeah.
yeah,
While still being, I was like, yeah, of course he's in this movie. It's a fairy tale. Like
yeah,
still adding that tone to it while still having fun with it.
yeah. And then we also have Lucy Punch, who I absolutely adore. She plays Hattie, who is the older of the two stepsisters.
Hmm.
And she's probably the only character I really enjoyed watching. Like, I don't know why. She's just so good in this role. And everybody else, I felt like their acting was like too childish almost. Like too child in the
Mm,
sense it's so over the top that it's
yeah,
meant for a very young audience. And
yeah.
she's the only one who just is living as Hattie and
She's fully invested in it, like
so
tooth and
invested
nail.
in it.
It's so
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I I said this to you earlier, but Minnie Driver, even Vivica A. Fox, I'm like, you guys are too good to be in this movie. Like, what are you? And this is what I still know Minnie Driver from. Like, now I
Yeah.
know she's done like Ashley is a great actress and done bunch of stuff, but I'm like, what are you guys doing here?
Like I actually knew her as a
Um,
great actress before this, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And both of those roles, so Minnie Driver plays Mandy, who is like the house cook slash fairy, and Vivica A.
mhm.
Fox plays Lucinda the fairy. And I'm like, both of them are in the film like 10 minutes. Like what?
Yeah, they're barely. I thought that they were more. They were in it a lot more. They're really not.
No, they're really
Um,
not. Um, yeah, it was very interesting casting. I They had like really big like I guess really big actors in these roles, and I'm almost like, why?
I feel like
Yeah.
that's definitely a thing that movies do, maybe especially at this time, where like they have big names play supporting characters, because then you'll be like, oh, I'm going for
Mm,
this. But like no one's so big that people were showing up for them specifically.
yeah,
And they
yeah.
weren't
And
that
this
big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
But
this
I
is post Princess Diaries, but I think Prince Diaries
mm,
2 came out this year. So it was like
that makes
while
sense.
her career was still getting a bit bigger.
Yes, this is still one of her rising roles.
Hmm.
I was gonna say, I was like, I think also the Anne Hathaway and Hugh Dancy. First off, I thought they had great chemistry. That was like one of my things I remember as a kid being like, oh, I really like them together, and now watching them, I was like, yeah, yeah, they're still good together. Um, but again, the casting was very smart because she was in this princess mindset. Like everyone
Yeah.
has a mindset of her that she's being very
Yes.
princessy, and she does a fantastic job. She's so good at playing this like a spunky heroine,
Hmm.
and so
Yeah.
good at playing the princessy role. And as we said, Hugh Dancy was like in the rom-coms at the moment, which side note, I again will point out that later on he does like Hannibal, which I think is hilarious. What a turn. But it makes sense. So you're like, yeah, you're kind of getting like the current heartthrob to play the
Yeah.
prince, and you're getting the current like
Idea of a
uh
princess.
idea of a princess, the current like again, spunky heroine to play the princess. Like it good casting. Like again, every one of these people I thought were like, actually that makes sense. Even Padmina Nagra, who plays Arita, again, she's in it for like 2 seconds, but like she was also rising up with like Bender like
Hmm.
Beckham. So
Yeah, it makes
I,
sense. Yeah.
I think the cast was definitely one of the highlights of
Yeah.
this movie.
It's definitely one of the highlights of the movie. Definitely, they did a good job. Like it's
Hmm
they did a good job assembling all the characters. Um,
hmm
Before I forget, I do have to say that the thing I love about Lucy Punch is that she's played an evil stepsister in a Cinderella adaptation, I think 4 times.
Four
I found
times. Hmm
4 times,
It was
and
four
I'm
times.
like, this is probably one of the first ones, but I'm like, yes, man, like go, you do it.
She she is who I think of when I think again, this movie was very formative to my early years. I was very young at the time, but like she is who I think of as an evil stepsister. So nothing brings me greater joy than knowing that she has reprised the role four
I know, me
times.
too, in like several ways. And I'm like, it's such a great, I don't know. I just love when people like love the roles that they get put in, and I think she
Yeah,
does. So
they're like, I want this specific thing. And I'm like, please do
yeah,
it. You're so good.
yeah, exactly. I do want to touch on the clothes really quick, and then we could talk about other
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
Some
absolutely.
of the costumes I loved because they would be
Mm,
like it would almost be like very modern clothing. If it was like a mix of
mm.
being modern but mixing with like a medieval touch. Um,
Interesting.
and if I can, like I saw it a few times where they would be wearing something that felt, it's when the girls were touring the castle and they're kind of wearing
Hmm
like a t-shirt that's like, I love Char over their outfit. So it's like a very modern concept, but it's still integrated into this like medieval looking outfit.
That's so funny.
But on the flip side, I think one thing I really hated was the portrayal of the giants because the entire giant culture is portrayed as
Yeah.
like Middle Eastern, which I don't hate, but it's like you lifted the entire,
So
not Middle Eastern, but I think like Israeli, like the music, the clothes,
exotic. It was exotic,
it was
is
like,
what I took it as.
yeah, it's like they took this thing and they're like, oh, here's some like exotic clothes. We're going to put them on the giants. But if you look at it and you're from either Southeast Asia or the Middle East or
Yeah.
that area, and you're like, but that's just like you just like lifted an entire culture and put it onto the
Yeah.
giants. And yeah.
I I was gonna talk about that because I was gonna talk about the soundtrack, but like it's like again, I don't know specifically, but it's like fucking Indian music that they're playing. Like
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I'm looking scanning the entire crowd for a single brown person. And it's all white
Same
people wearing like
in
not
these clothes.
it's not even it's not even that they're wearing like Middle Eastern or like South Asian clothes, it's that they're wearing the Western version of that. It is how the Western
Yes.
people westernized those clothes.
Yes.
That's what they're wearing.
Yes. And
And
the
so
music
it's
is, yeah. Yeah.
music is straight
Yep.
up like that's like an Indian like horn to it.
Yeah. No, you're
Um,
absolutely right. And yeah, it's like you're almost putting these, again, like foreign looking clothes on these people. And you're like, yeah, this is the
yeah.
different giant culture. But it's like,
Yeah.
no, it's not.
Because like and the thing is conversely with the elves, they made actual costumes for the elves. Like
Yeah.
they're all wearing like green costumes, kind of mossy looking, kind of with leaves, like with hats and all. Like there's an actual look to it, but the Giants is very half-assed.
Yeah.
I did
And
not appreciate it.
I did not appreciate it. And I'm like, it's like the giants don't have a different culture than the elves. They're just bigger people,
Yeah.
like
Or they should
you
have their
could
own
have,
culture, but give them something.
but I was like, you didn't need, they could have just been like the normal people of Frel, but bigger. Like it didn't have to
Yeah.
be so like a totally different culture. I
They
don't know.
could have they could have done something.
Yeah,
I I completely agree. I was gonna say that I enjoyed the costumes. I've complained about this with Bridgerton before. There's sometimes the costuming is just glitter or just
hmm
sequins.
hmm
And I noticed a lot of the costuming here was, I don't know the exact term, but sheer, kind of
Yeah,
reflective, kind of sparkly. However, it still looked good, particularly Anne Hathaway's like white dress. Like it looked good.
yeah,
So I don't know what it was, but I think enough at a glance, I think it's still passed for the fairy tale medieval vibe that they're going
yeah,
for.
yeah.
And since we're talking about like borrowing costume inspirations, I will say that I kind of actually loved how Lucinda's look was like the 2000s pop star look.
Oh, I never got that.
I
Interesting.
thought that was so. I would like to hear your thought on that for a second because I was like I thought that was really funny because the other girls like other fairies do kind of have that look, but they have like the pointy hats. But like looking at Lucinda, she's very much dressed like any of the pop stars of the
Yeah,
90s
she makes me
or
think of the
2000s.
Spice Girls a lot. Like kind of
Exactly.
boots, like boots that come up to your knee, short dress, her hair in
Yeah.
like ponytail pigtails with like
With
scrunchies.
and yeah, she has the scrunchies and she has the clips and
Yeah.
she has like the mini skirt and the mini top, like and the spaghetti
Yeah.
straps. Yeah.
Yes.
I thought
Yeah.
that was funny and interesting. Like it's
Yeah.
um
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah,
and
the whole thing is very, yeah.
an interesting I think it could be an interesting commentary on how they are seen as better than the humans and therefore they have the
Yeah.
gifts. Like literally they have the gifts.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
which is
That's
probably not
actually,
that they're probably not what they're going for, but
no, I don't know if it is, but it is an interesting way to make them, it's like coding it for people who don't live in this world. So it's very pop star coded.
yes. Yeah.
So, I mean, we can't look at it through today's lens, but in a 2004 lens, you would think of that and you would think of the Spice Girls or Britney Spears. Like they both
Yeah.
had that like scrunchy ponytail look. And
Hmm.
it makes you, yeah, it does without using words. Because again, Lucinda's not talked about. All we know in the film is that she gave Ella this gift and she is Ella's
Hmm.
fairy godmother.
Hmm.
And then she's also like to appear and disappear and like, but she's
Yeah.
not in it. So it tells us a lot about her. It tells us a lot about how she likes to be showy and likes to be on screen without
Yeah.
needing to use
Very
dialogue or
beautiful, very
words.
performative. But actually,
Yeah.
if we're taking it in the terms of like the context coding is like she's a pop star like thing, it actually explains a lot about her character
Yeah.
that she is constantly going to parties and goes on
Yeah.
benders and is very
That's true.
flaky.
Yeah,
It's
she
almost
gets
like I do not give them any credit for this, but I think that's kind of an unintentional like
that's
you're
true.
getting her character just through that coding, just to be like, oh, okay, she's like the pop star, like she's gonna be
Yeah.
flaky. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that actually because she gets at FWI, flying while intoxicated after the wedding. And then in the end, she's at like a rehab center, right? Or like,
She's at a
I
rehab
think,
center.
yeah. And I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, you're so right. She's so
And
pop star coded.
this was definitely, I don't know Britney Spears' timeline, but like this is definitely around the time of the Britney
Oh,
Spears
maybe,
meltdown.
maybe.
So yeah,
Yeah. I don't quite know myself.
that's
You know, you're making me appreciate things that I did not appreciate because I just thought these were all just costume choices. But no, you're making me appreciate it a lot more.
I'm glad. As I said, like I enjoyed the costumes, especially of Ella and Char. I will say that. I think they looked really good.
They did. I think they
Yeah,
looked good. Yeah.
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 Can
I will say
I?
though,
Oh yeah,
I did not like the way the ogres were portrayed. I don't
oh,
know
that was
why.
rough. That was
It was
rough.
rough. Yeah, I don't know.
It was rough and it felt racist in a way that I don't even know how it was racist, but I was like, this is definitely a stereotype in some way, and I just can't figure it out.
Me too. Yeah. Oh, and then the ogres also wore like at one point they have it's almost like they have a plumber belt. Like they wore
Yes,
pants that
yes.
look like jeans that has a belt but their butt crack is showing. And I'm like, there was
Hmm.
another like modernization. I'm like, I get what you're saying, but I don't want to pick it up, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna leave that alone.
Yeah.
I can I jump onto the soundtrack real quick?
Yes, let's talk about
Um,
that.
because that's the other way in which this is a very modernized thing was the soundtrack. And again, Shrek does this, but Shrek is an incredibly well-crafted film. I will defend
Hmm.
that movie to the death. Like it is incredibly well crafted. And I enjoy some of the choices that were made here, uh, but they're not nearly as well intentioned.
Yeah.
And it doesn't add anything. Like, but it's all modern music. Like it's a
Yeah.
jukebox practically.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it adds anything. Yeah, because again, Shrek, like they do have these like very modern songs in the fairy tale setting.
Hmm.
It's so Shrek coded in that way, but
Yeah.
it doesn't stand out to me in this film at all. Music didn't stand out
No,
to me. Even the song she
no.
sings, which I hate. I
Yeah.
hate all the musical numbers in it, but which is only like two, but
I like that. I like that scene, but again, it's cringe. And the ending scene, like again, I like it, but it's cringe. Like,
it's so
um,
cringe. I almost feel like it was her because she hadn't done Les Miserables at that point. So it's almost like I feel like she's trying to
mm,
showcase that she can sing. And so she
could
wants,
be.
I don't know, it was just like out of the blue. And yeah.
Yeah. I will use the example from Shrek that one of the songs they use is My Monster and Me for the scene where
Oh,
he's like falling in love with Fiona. Like, and again, it's a very intentional
I love the
off
Shrek soundtrack in that
offbeat
regard.
song, but it's a perfect song for the scene. And I'm like, and I cannot. Okay, actually, if you give me a second, I'm gonna look up what this song is. There's a song that they use in this. Okay, so the song I'm thinking of that they use a lot in this movie is Strange Magic, um,
Yes.
which is cute. That's done. That is a good choice for this. But as I said, the music is not really adding anything to it. I don't even
No.
think the musical scenes are necessarily adding anything here.
Yeah. It really feels like they're trying to copy something. And I think if they weren't, I really feel like they're trying to copy Shrek.
I think they're trying to
And
copy Shrek.
maybe
And this
it
was
came
the
out the
trend at
same
the
time as
time.
Shrek 2. Yeah. The
This was the
trend.
trend. This was the trend of the 2000s, I think, was a lot of these tongue-in-cheek fairy tales.
Yeah.
And
I
not all of
don't,
them are bad, but they definitely are writing off of Shrek.
writing off of Shrek. And if I don't know when Shrek 2 came. I know they both came out in 2004, but imagine
Mm.
if they both came out in the summer. I can see boys wanting to go see Shrek 2 and little girls wanting to go see Enchanted.
Mm.
So I can see
Hmm.
it wanting to compete in that way. It just
Hmm.
doesn't do as good of a job for me. And I was surprised because when I looked at the writers of like I didn't know anything else really the director did, but when I looked at what some of the writers done, there was I think three writers, and they had done things like Legally Blonde, 10 Things I Hate About You, She's the Man, and I'm like, holy crap, these
What?
are heavy hitters. Like where the fuck did this movie come from? Because you guys have
Those are,
very solid work.
you know what? I'm going to say studio interference. I'm going to call studio
Studio
interference because
interference. Yeah.
those are all really both well-written
Solid
movies,
choices.
but very clever movies. Like
Mm-hmm.
very intelligently clever movies that hold up today.
Yeah.
Everything, and again, this movie has good elements to it, but all the cringy stuff, all the really like crass stuff, or like the silly kitty stuff, I'm going to call studio interference. I can definitely see a studio being
Yeah.
like, I'm sure that they came, because again, what we're going to jump into right now is like the book is a completely different story. I can see that they coming into this draft being like, hey, here's a story, and the studio coming back being
Yeah.
like, you got to make it more like Shrek.
Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
that because I keep, again, like when you feel like you can't figure out the tone or can't figure out the audience,
Hmm.
or it's not that things were changed. Like I do think they were
Hmm.
changed probably earlier in the process, but it is so
Hmm.
far off from the book that I look at this film and I'm like, where did you even get this from? You
Yeah.
literally like you could have not read the book and put this film together.
Hmm. Which is pretty much what happened.
Yeah, pretty much what happened.
Okay.
All right, now let's transition to talking about the books. I feel like we talked about the film enough.
Yeah. That was literally everything we had to say about the book
I
film.
know. I'm like really struggling to think about more, and I'm like, nope, we touched on it. So yeah, we're gonna talk about the book now because we both really love the book. We've read it a bunch of times, and we both say that it's very different. So I think the book just has a very different tone. It is very well written. It's all told through Ella's eyes, and it's very important because it starts. She's like 15 years old, and it starts with her mother's death.
Hmm.
And I think that's just it. Kind of starts with her being in a lot of grief. She eventually gets sent to boarding school. She gets sent to boarding school with her with Hattie and Olive. She runs
Hmm.
away, finds her father, and then about halfway through the story, her father marries Dame Olga, and that's when Dame Olga becomes her stepmom. Hattie and Olive become her stepsisters. Her father is a merchant, so he's always traveling. He leaves. They have a very contentious relationship, so he leaves, and she's kind of just left under Dame Olga. And they don't
Hmm.
have any money. And her father married Dame Olga thinking that she had money, but they don't, which is why Dame Olga sort of makes her an indentured servant. She makes her like earn her stay. And so she
Hmm.
doesn't become a servant in the house until maybe like the last third of the book.
Hmm.
But she becomes friends with Char like from the beginning, like from the first chapter, they become friends. And
Hmm.
she's very like goofy and silly and makes him laugh a lot. And he falls in love with her and
Hmm.
falls in love with her. And then the rest kind of plays out more like the typical Cinderella story. But yeah,
Yes.
yeah, very different.
Um, I think it is still maintains being an incredibly, I was gonna say, it still maintains being one of the best well-written books I've read. I don't know what it is about this book. I want to study it just because of the way it's very simply written. It is a YA novel, but it is richly told. I think you really, really see her character, and she is someone is who knows her own mind and has a real personality. And she doesn't exist just for the plot, but she exists as this real person in a way that I don't even see a lot of stories and even a lot of
Hmm.
YA do, where they're kind of like, you have characters who are like, oh, I'm headstrong and I'm spunky. And there's Ella who's like, she kind of lives in her own world, and her world is very
Hmm.
small. It's kind of just her and Mandy and the few friends she makes here and there, but she loves languages and she loves these
Hmm.
fairy tale stories, and she knocks things over and she's constantly
Hmm.
fighting and she's putting up a fight. Like she feels so very, very real. And then
Yeah,
conversely, the other characters also feel very real, especially Char in particular. Like he is
yeah,
someone who he kind of is always showing up, and you're like, he's cute and he's charming, but then we also kind of
yeah,
see that he has flaws and he's a little insecure and a little shy too. Like it's a beautifully written story and a beautiful fairy tale. And I think it stands out amongst Cinderella adaptations, of which there's a lot, for the simple twist that it's a story like the Cinderella character is caught in this situation because she is cursed to be obedient.
yeah. I think that's a very interesting take on it. And like I totally agree with everything you just said. And it just feels very organic. And you don't even realize how much like I was reading it and there's like again, halfway through the book, she has this like thought or this picture of Char in her mind
Hmm.
before she goes to bed. And it like she doesn't
Yeah.
he's not portrayed as like a love interest. And she doesn't fall in love with him until later in the book. Like they're just
Hmm.
friends and yeah, and
Yeah.
like I think and also she, her mom dies and the grief is woven in because like
Hmm.
she dies, she's dealing with her death, she's sent off to boarding school, and then like, a month in at some point she tells her friend Arita about her mom's death. And it's like
Hmm.
you see the way that it still sits with her, even though her life,
Yeah,
it
kept
just feels very
moving.
natural.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of I think this is something that books do, where they will call to attention. They're like, we have to let you know that our character is really headstrong. We'll have to let you know that this
Yeah.
character's falling in love. Like, and you're allowed to see it, and you're allowed to just
Yeah.
be in her head.
Yeah, exactly. And there's, I don't know why. And she goes on a similar journey. She meets elves.
Hmm.
She has a
She
wonderful
meets
time with the
giants.
elves.
She
She
goes to
meets
a wedding.
giants. She gets, ambushed by ogres. Like all these, like the notes that happen in the film happen in the book, but like it just,
Hmm.
I don't know, it just happens a lot more seamlessly. And it also, I guess the adventure, they make the movie like a big adventure of her going to the wedding and then going back to
Yes.
Frau. And
Hmm.
that is what happens in the book, but it just, yeah,
The book is much more quiet.
yeah,
It's not an adventure story. It's very,
exactly.
very, very quiet.
Yeah,
Half the story and significant development of their relationship is told through letters.
yeah,
And I always thought that was a big reason why they have trouble adapting this book.
yeah, that's true.
Um,
Yeah,
the one thing I think the movie I will give props for doing, like so towards the end, same thing, like she again, like she in the book she is afraid that marrying Char is going to be a threat to his life because anyone
yeah,
can command her to kill him or command her to do something horrible as queen. But it's always hypothetical. Like it never gets that far. And I do like that the movie actually capitalizes on that threat. That was a
yeah.
point I will give it.
Yeah, exactly. That was a really good idea of like taking this idea because in the book it's introduced in little ways, like
Mhm.
she either has to save her life or she has to save somebody else's life. And so she tries a lot to break the curse and she's not
Mhm.
able to. And she's finally able to break it because she wants to save Char. Yeah, it
Mhm.
happens the same in the movie. He proposes to her and she says no, and she
Mhm.
breaks it. And
Yeah.
yeah, and you bring up the point that it's a very unique Cinderella story because of the idea of obedience.
Hmm.
And I think that what makes it so attractive uh, as a Cinderella
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. I think Cinderella gets I've loved Cinderella for many years. I've also kind of hated Cinderella for many years. And it gets a lot of flack for being the story of this passive girl who is just suffering under a bad situation. And then she manages to have a great night and get whisked away by a prince, and everything ends up okay. And I actually want to, and that might be something we're going to talk about. Like, I actually argue that I'm like, that's not anti-feminist. Like, it is,
Yeah,
I think there is still power in being able to survive bad situations. There is power in maintaining your character,
yeah,
maintaining your kindness. That's a big part of the 2015 Cinderella version is, or the moral of the story is like to be brave and kind. And like, she's able to keep that at the same time, not to say that that's one feminism is better than the other, but at the same time, I like that Ella here has agency. She, even if she literally has her agency taken away by the
yeah,
curse, she is constantly fighting. She is constantly maintaining her own identity, her own person, her own. She's fighting the curse every step of the way, and it causes her, like in the movie, she cannot fight it. Like it physically is like a snap. But in the book,
yeah,
she gets nauseous, she gets dizzy, she's like can't
yeah,
walk anymore, she can't see straight, but like she's fighting. Like
yeah,
it's so much more, and I think that is actually really I think it actually still really maintains that story about someone who cannot escape a bad situation
yeah.
and you can
You bring
still maintain your own identity.
Yeah. And you bring up a point that the people who know about it are her mom and Mandy. And Mandy is her godmother, is her fairy godmother in the book, whereas in
Hmm.
the movie Lucinda is. And Mandy's a
Hmm.
very, very good fairy. She's not a dunce like she is in the movie.
Hmm.
But Mandy tells Ella, she's like, don't let your father find out about your curse. And she's like,
Yeah.
well, I can't. I'm forbidden to talk about it. But she's like, but
Hmm.
still, like he'll use it for his own gain.
Hmm.
And it's just this, yeah, it's this interesting, it's a balance of power and it's a balance of like,
Hmm.
she's within such a restricted world and she has to do things, but she, like in little ways from being told just to come downstairs to big ways, like needing to
Hmm.
save a gnome child, she is constantly
Hmm.
fighting it and trying to like be free and act of her own agency. And she can't, but
Hmm.
doesn't mean she's not trying, It
It
doesn't mean she
doesn't.
doesn't want to.
Yeah. And is she so it's so I was gonna say in two parts. That one, like her other skills come into play and help save her. Like
Yeah.
it's like the best scene is like with the ogres. Like she talks herself out of being eaten by ogres by like speaking the ogre language. Like because she's so good
Hmm.
at languages. Like
Yeah,
she
that's a good
can't
point. She uses her
like
skills.
yeah, like they basically have figured out her curse as well, and they're like, don't leave, like, and so she
Yeah.
can't leave, but she figures out like how to put them to sleep, and
Yeah. And at least like stave off getting eaten until she's saved.
yeah, and then the other thing is that like she figures out workarounds, like she argues with Mandy a lot, being like, do I have to do this? And then Mandy will change the
Hmm.
command. Um, and part of what you just said about like, yeah, she doesn't have a lot of choices. Like her father in the book is trying to set her up with an arranged marriage. Like,
Hmm.
and so first off, Mandy tries to help her to be like, hey, I'm going to try and protect you in this situation. But then later on, like the father leaves her a note. And so she takes it to Mandy and Mandy reads the note. She's like, don't worry, there's no commands. Like, you're safe to read
Oh,
it.
yeah. Yeah.
Like,
God,
so
she's such a good fairy godmother.
she's very good. Like Mandy, so that's part of what I was gonna say, that I was like, she has people looking out for her, and that in itself is also very important. And I think that is an
Yeah.
important part of the Cinderella story is that like you have a fairy godmother looking out, or she had the little mice friends who are looking out for her. Like there are people
Yeah.
who love her and looking
Yes.
out for her.
Yeah.
Um, and then also like she's resilient, but she's smart and she's like there's so much strength. And I, again, I'm not trying to put down other versions of Cinderella's. Like, I think Ever After has a equally has a really cool independent Cinderella. Um, but this particular Ella Enchanted, I feel like just does it so beautifully because you see
Yeah.
so much of her personality.
Yeah, exactly. And she
Hmm.
still becomes a lady because she goes to finishing school. Like she still becomes a lady. She
Hmm.
does become a princess, but she's first and foremost herself. And like
Hmm.
she keeps herself. And I think a great example of that is that early in the book, like in the first chapter, she talks about riding down the rails with her mom, like the staircase
Hmm.
rail. And then
Hmm.
her and Prince Char do it at her father's wedding. Instead of going to the wedding, they instead
Hmm.
explore a castle and then slide down the banister. And then they talk
Hmm.
about doing that when they're married. It's like they get married and they
Yeah.
still do it and they do it with their children.
Yeah.
And it's like she is herself. It doesn't
She's
change any
herself.
part of her to like get Char or become princess or
Yeah.
anything.
And like yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the balls too, but like also the reason Char falls in love with her is that she's funny. Like
Yeah.
she's just funny. She's constantly making jokes to crack him up. Like,
Yeah.
and it's
And
so
there's one
funny. And
point
I,
and yeah, sorry, go
hmm
ahead.
no, go for it.
A knight tells her, he's like, he doesn't play enough. He doesn't hang out with young people his age because they're
Hmm.
so reverent around him. And he's like, he
Hmm.
laughs with you because you're just who you are. And like, I love that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
I think.
I think in the
Oh yeah,
film
go.
that gets translated to like pick me energy a little bit. Like,
It does. He literally says like, "Oh, I like that you're not like other girls. You're not fawning over me." And I did
exactly.
like that.
I didn't like that. It's a very 2000 thing. Like the pick me energy was very
Hmm.
early 2000s, but it's
Hmm.
not like that in the book. It's not like she's trying to like be like pick me, choose me. She's
Yeah.
just doesn't know how
He
she
kind.
doesn't know how to act different. And she
Yeah.
questions it. She's like, "Oh shoot, was I too blunt with him?" And then he'll laugh and he'll be like, "Okay, I think that was okay." Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
He kind of is the one who keeps following her around. Like she's in the market saying goodbye to all of her like animal friends and her like zookeeper friends, and he's like following her around like while she just does her thing. Like
There are three different times he shows up unexpectedly, and I'm like, "Wait, where did he come from?" And then I'm like, "Oh, he just showed up. He's
he
nowhere.
just
He
shows
just
up.
shows up."
He just shows up. He's very cute. But that's the thing. Like it again, it's not. And of course, that also happens in other books. But like this one, like she's not. She's living in her own world. That is the best way I describe it. That she is in her own world. She is very much doing her own thing, and it's
Yeah.
something we are talking because we talk a lot about storytelling and writing on this podcast. Like having something as simple as that goes a long way for making a character feel
Yeah.
real. And even in that scene of like her saying goodbye, like she has a simple objective. I'm gonna go say goodbye to all my friends. Like that's all we need to get us through the scene. Like she feels like a real person.
Yeah. I do. You bring up Ever After, and I
Hmm.
watched both. Like I watched Ella
Mm.
Enchanted and I hated it. And I was like, I haven't seen Ever After since I was probably a kid.
Hmm.
Not right when it came out, but maybe a little bit after that. So I was still very young and I didn't understand it. But she has
Hmm.
a very similar kind of sentiment. Like she's a very
Very
full
similar.
character again, she meets the prince and she doesn't know it's the prince at first. And so he's just stealing her
Mm.
horse. And she's like, excuse me, you're not going to steal my horse. But
Hmm.
she has like a very similar rambunctious relationship with her childhood friend. Like they're just out in the field flying
Mm.
kites or they're just doing this or doing that. Like she's her full self and she's not trying to go after the prince. And then over the
Hmm.
course of it's very similar. Like he pursues her. Like she's
Hmm.
just going to go buy back a servant and she's dressed as a courtier. And so the prince
Hmm.
ambushes her, you know, like it's
Hmm.
a similar
Hmm.
sentiment, but I found that character to be so endearing as well because
Yeah.
yeah, it's not just like a princess, it's not like a helpless princess. It's a person who is a fully
Hmm.
realized person living her life who
Yeah.
very organically is interacting with the prince who just happens to live in the neighborhood and they fall in love and
Right.
like
There's a lot of overlap between these two. They're very independent.
yeah.
I Cinderella is obviously one of the most famous fairy tales. It gets the most adaptations, and I really genuinely love Cinderella stories. Go
72.
for
I found someone who listed a bunch and I counted
it.
72 and there's probably more, but at least 72 that
At
we
least
like know
72
of.
adaptations.
Yeah.
I because we obviously all love rags to riches, but I think there is also something very beautiful about someone who is enduring a bad
Hmm.
situation
Yeah.
and also that fantasy of being able to escape that bad situation,
Yeah.
and being seen for who you are. And I like that this book and the story, both Enchanted and Ever After, kind of take their spin on that, being like by making this a real person, making this feel like real situations, like you're like it feels more relatable and it feels more like yeah, like I too could go through this or I too am going through this and
Yeah.
I will get to the other side. And that's the whole point of the Cinderella is that anyone can be
Yeah.
transformed overnight.
Yeah. And the Cinderella idea is like I was doing a lot of research on the story and of course originated
Hmm.
in like the 1600s
Hmm.
and then the Brothers Grimm wrote it and their version of it is very like riches to rags to riches. And there being
Mm.
a shoe, obviously, where she loses a shoe, and
Hmm.
like, I don't know why the prince can't recognize the girl without her foot fitting into a shoe, but like,
Hmm.
one stepsister cuts off her throat, tries it on, and he's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you're the girl," and he riding away with her, and then a bird is like, her foot's bleeding, and then the second sister cuts off her
Yeah.
heel, and I'm like, why don't you just recognize the girl? But I like how it's done. First of all, there's no shoe in Ella Enchanted the movie. I think we mentioned that she
Mm.
steals a glass slipper, but there's no shoe.
There's no
Um,
shoe.
there's no
Again, this
shoe.
the movie is not a Cinderella adaptation. It has nothing
It's
to do with
not a Cinderella.
Cinderella.
Nothing. It's not rags to riches because they're not rich, but they're very just like middle class,
Yeah.
average for Frel. They
Hmm.
all go to like Frel Community College together, like her and Hattie and
That was
Olive.
the
Like
other thing. The Frel
the
Community College.
community
And then
college.
and the dad is also looking for a job and it's like abacus manager. Like,
Oh, I didn't see that. That's so funny. Yeah.
yeah, sorry, more
Yeah.
modern elements. Yeah, go
More
on.
modern elements. So yeah, it's not a Cinderella story because the through line of all the Cinderella stories from the 1600s is a shoe. Um, and it's really
Mm.
fun in Ella Enchanted because when they're at the castle, they just find like when they're exploring the castle, they find a bench, and in the bench is glass slippers. And she has significantly smaller feet because she has a drop of fairy blood, so her feet haven't grown in years. So even though she
Hmm.
grows, her feet don't grow. So imagining she's
Hmm.
like 5'8", but with a size 5 foot or something. So that's
Hmm.
why the shoe fits her. And it's again very seamlessly like put together. Like she finds the shoe
Very
with
simple.
Char, and then that's
Hmm.
like halfway in the book, and then way later at the end of the book, she wears the glass slippers to the
Yeah.
ball. But he kind of already knows. Like he knows. I'm assuming, right? He knows that. Like
He doesn't
maybe
see
he
the shoes,
doesn't
I think,
know.
until later, but by that point, he knows it's Ella. Like
Yeah, he knows it's
the whole
Ella. He
thing,
doesn't need the shoe. He
he doesn't
picks
need the
up the.
shoe.
Yeah, he doesn't go
It's all like
searching
a
for women. He goes
formality.
straight to her house and
Yeah, it's
he's
like a
looking for her.
formality.
It's a
Yeah.
formality. He's like, sit down, and the
Oh,
shoe will only fit Ella, and he makes her sit. And
I
yeah,
a really quick side note. I'm so deeply obsessed with this book, and also I feel like I get such secondhand embarrassment through that final
why?
scene. I don't know. It's something about like, yeah, he's like come to find her and she's hiding. And I like that she's like trying to protect him at the same time. I'm like, I'm starting to get embarrassed. And then she like has like she's having an internal dialogue with herself, and everyone's like, what the fuck is
Yeah.
going on? And I'm like, this is so I can't.
It's interesting to get secondhand embarrassing. I just eat that up. And
That's
so
so
I'm
great. It's
like,
real, it's good. It's just a me thing, but yes.
yeah, yeah. Oh, that's so funny. I never think of that as embarrassing. I'm like, oh my God. Well, it's embarrassing because she kind of pretends to be a stupid. maid. Like she
Yeah.
literally leaves the ball, puts her scrubs back on, and all the servants have to line the hall. So he's looking
Yeah.
for her, and she pretends to
Yeah.
not know him, but he's like, I know it's you, which I like that change because I'm like, why you gotta like who would recognize someone based on their foot size? Like
Yeah,
so
honestly.
absurd. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Also, special shout out. Some because we're just talking about Cinderella adaptations. Bridgerton just did their Cinderella season. So like,
I didn't know that.
yeah,
I gotta watch Bridget.
the trope was the Cinderella. So like, I feel like we're having a timely moment. This is a global story. There's like stories,
Oh,
there's like an Indian version, there's a Chinese version.
I didn't know
Like,
that.
yeah, like this is, I don't know how old all these different versions are, but this is definitely the idea of being a rags to riches. A
Yeah.
story has definitely existed for a long time, and a lot of them have some very similar stuff to this.
I do like the ever after version because again, I mentioned this story, at least according to Wikipedia, is like originating in the
Mhm.
1600s. And
Mhm.
so in the ever after, it's someone telling the Brothers Grimm the story of Cinderella. And she's like, it's
Oh,
not just a story. This was my great 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 grandmother.
oh,
And so she tells
it's
the
like a not,
story of,
it's like a
yeah.
non-magical version of
It's a
Cinderella, right?
non-magical version. Yeah,
Which
there's
is
no fairy
cute.
godmother. Leonardo da Vinci is in it. It's set in like 1600 France. I think, yeah,
That's
France
so
or like French
funny.
territory. Yeah, and I was like, I love
That's so
it.
funny.
And
Honestly,
she's
that's very
like,
clever.
it is. And the ending line is like, it's not that they lived happily ever after, is that they lived. And I'm like, oh, like it
Oh,
takes the magical element out of it to be like,
yeah.
just on her own accord, this girl, through again, it helped the community. She gets a lot of help from her.
Hmm.
It's like
Hmm.
her and two other older women who all work at the house as servants. So she gets help from
Yeah.
them. And then she has a childhood best friend who works as a servant in a nearby household and he helps her
Hmm.
and he has
Hmm.
to advocate her and he has to help break her out. Like there's an element of like needing a community and needing other people.
Yeah.
And Disney kind of takes that away and makes it mice and birds and a fairy godmother. And
Hmm.
so is Brothers Grimm. But like,
Hmm.
um, it is about there's one hand where it is like she does rely on the help. And even in the Brothers Grimm story, she relies on the help of like these doves
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
sort of represent her mother's spirit and stuff.
Mm.
And then there is another element about being a good and virtuous person because in the Brothers
Yeah.
Grimm story, like her father, I don't think he leaves the picture. He's not dead. Only her mom dies and he gets remarried.
Oh,
So her
interesting.
father is like completely complicit into like the ill treatment of her. Like totally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it is about just being a good person.
It's
That's
about
like the
being a
through
good
line is that
person.
she's a good person compared to her sisters who are like
Yeah.
duplicit and deceitful.
Yeah.
And so I guess going back to like not just feminist take on it, but a feminist take on it is that you're not just a good person, but that you are your whole self and you're not relying,
Yes.
like you were both not relying on the validation of a man, but neither are you relying on, like, neither are you letting yourself be constrained within the parameters of what, not just a man, but
Yes.
anybody, like
Yeah, being
society
defined
or
by other
this
people.
curse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's on
Yeah.
you. And so, yeah.
I think that's a really good transition to the next thing I kind of wanted to talk about was obedience.
Oh.
Because yeah, exactly. Like I think obviously in a lot of fairy tales it's about being a good person and Cinderella especially it is about being a good person and not to say that like Ella is not a good person. She is a very good person, but as you're saying, like the feminist version, that modern feminist version is to make her a fully realized person.
Hmm.
Um, and still be able to persist or endure through these struggles. But I thought it was really interesting that, again, like the unique twist of Ella Enchanted compared to the rest of the Cinderella adaptations is that it's a curse to be obedient. Um, and a lot of times in fairy tales, not constantly, but a lot of fairy tales, part of being good is taken as like you are obedient. So a lot of times what happens in fairy tales is they are given instruction, the heroine is given instruction to be like follow these exact rules, do not mess up, and you will be saved. And so they follow the exact rules and they get saved. Um, and so it's interesting, and especially for Cinderella too. Like that's also the same thing where she follows through with her stepfamily's rules, and then the fairy godmother takes her to the ball, but then she's like, come back by midnight, and she has to leave by midnight.
Oh my God, you're so right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like, but for this one, the virtue is to be disobedient. That blind obedience is dangerous. Um, and this does happen in several fairy tales, but the movie that's really famous for this is Pan's Labyrinth, like the
Hmm.
virtue of disobedience.
Well, just as the
Okay.
overview for Pan's Labyrinth, it's a very similar story in which this girl, I think it's set in World War II or World War One. I can't
Forgot.
remember,
Can't remember which
but it's
is the one.
definitely a period piece. And her mother marries a man. He's very controlling, all this stuff. And she has to move to this new house with her mom. And basically, in the garden, she discovers this magical world of Pan and Pan's Labyrinth. And so it's very
Mhm.
escapist. She keeps escaping to this world. Um, yeah, I guess that's all I want to say. I'm not going to give it away.
Yeah.
It's not a spoiler for
Yeah.
Pan's Labyrinth.
Yes. I hope we do Pan's Labyrinth one day.
Yeah, we
Um,
should.
the idea is that blind obedience is not everything. And I think
Yeah.
we see that particularly in Ella Enchanted, where a lot of times commands are very carelessly thrown and they can be taken literally and she has to do things that she doesn't want to do and that takes away her agency. But it also can be things like dangerous, like it can put her in danger, it can put other people in danger. It can cause ruin to her, it can cause ruin to her family. Like it is something that is so like it is words are tossed around carelessly, and especially a lot of times what happens in the book and the movie is that they get abused. Like people
Mhm.
take advantage of her because of this, and especially in the movie, the king takes advantage of her and tries to get her to kill the prince. Like, and so the power, I think the movie especially, and even the book has this idea of being like your individual self is more important than listening to the commands. But I think it's
Mhm.
more than that. It's that your ability to make that judgment and your ability to make those choices is more
Yeah.
important than listening to the command. Because some commands
Yeah.
maybe are okay. Like it's not that every command is bad. I think
Yeah.
even in the book and the movie, but like disobedience, being able to fight back, being able, which is what Ella is, that she's a very independent person. She thinks for herself. That's why she's such a realized character, is that she has this pushback. She's like, I will make these choices for myself. I will, not just in a like individualistic mindset, but in a I have the right to choose mindset.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think this book is teaching young girls that it does, it's so subtle in how it does it. And I do think it teaches young girls, like, even if you are in situations, even if your mom is just like, eat dinner, like, we don't think of it
Hmm.
as a command, or like,
Hmm.
wrap up, it's cold. Like, it is a command, but like, you can still abide by it. And you can also still have this greater sense of like who you are and
Hmm.
the agency that you have in listening to these things and in not listening to these things.
Hmm.
And it really does just highlight the strength in women, or the strength in not just women, but being in any kind of position in which you feel like you're a bit subservient or you're less powerful
Yeah.
or you don't have agency. Like, mostly
Hmm.
women, but a lot of people of all genders can
A
be in
lot of
that
people,
position.
whether we're talking societal or like individual or family or abusive situations,
Exactly.
like, yeah,
Yeah. Any kind of
I was,
dynamic.
and just because you brought up talking about women, like this book came out in 1997, and you're someone who can talk about this more because you were a young teenager at this time, like, but
I was a
early
child. I was
2000s.
not that old. Yeah, I was a teenager in
No,
2000s. Yeah.
no, talk about the 2000s specifically, but
Yeah.
like, this is the height of like literally eating disorders for women and literally
Yes.
extreme beauty standards and like all of media and like all of Victoria's
Yes.
Secret and all the pop stars and all of this like all of these things and then you're having a story about a woman who is like I'm going to be my own person and I
Yep.
am being told to do something and I am not going to do it.
Yeah. And we didn't give a trigger warning for this, so I will say maybe skip ahead like a minute if you don't want to hear me talk about
Hmm.
ED. But this movie stands out in that regard, in the sense that this is the height of being skinny era. And
Hmm.
everybody in this movie, but especially Anne Hathaway, is just a very normal sized person. And now, whatever,
Hmm.
normal, but
Hmm.
they're not like Paris Hilton, Lindsay Lohan at their worst situations, kind of skinny.
Hmm.
And, I think we're seeing a resurgence of this in culture today, but I feel
Hmm.
like it was much more insidious in the 2000s, because today you still
Hmm.
have feeds, you still have TikTok, you have Instagram, you
Hmm.
have ways of connecting to people, you have ways of blocking content that comes to you, you have ways of wanting to tune into certain content. And in the 2000s, you couldn't control it. Like, you get media on TV or in a magazine. That's it.
Yeah.
Not
It
internet,
was very
not
much monoculture.
monoculture. You can't control. You open any magazine and you're seeing these 00 people, and that's all you see.
Hmm.
So I feel like it was
Hmm.
very insidious. It was very all over, and I think it has messed up a lot of people to be exposed to that. And so again, like to
Hmm.
teach young girls, like it came out at a great time, but for any time to teach young
Hmm.
girls, like you don't have to like give into these things. You can push back. You don't have to accept things that people are saying to you. Like you could do what you feel like is best for you. You can at least
Hmm.
form your own thoughts about it. And you should, like,
Yeah.
even if you feel like you have to, like, at least understand how you feel about it and where you
Hmm.
lie in a situation. And it's small. It's small when you're a kid. It's small to just be like, there's scenes in the book and the movie where they're like, here's your birthday cake, eat the cake. Like, that is small.
Yeah.
But when she's getting married or when she's grown up and considering who to marry and it's the prince, it's a much more bigger situation. And that's entirely
Yeah.
reflective of what happens in the real world, where we learn how to make decisions. We learn to trust our own intuition,
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
gauge what's right, what's wrong, how much to listen to someone of authority, how much
Hmm.
not to, and to form our own thoughts about it. And,
Hmm.
some people don't know how to do that. So they can end up in situations where that's taken advantage of, or you
Hmm.
could somehow, it's a journey for each person. And I think the
Yeah.
book is being like, even if you don't feel like you have the agency, it's okay to have your own thoughts about this. And as you grow older, you should continue to have your own thoughts about it,
Hmm.
and be able to
Hmm.
form your own opinions because you may have more agency as you get older.
Yeah. And I think even really important, like the fact that she is smart and funny when,
Yeah.
yeah, for many years and still today, we're being told women can't be smart and funny. Or don't be too smart or too funny. You're going to scare away guys. Like I
Oh,
love that
yeah.
she is, that's her mate. That's why I pointed it out that that's the reason he falls in love with her is that she's funny. She's
Yeah.
very silly. And
That's true. The
like,
thing he loves about her is that she's funny. He never talks about like her beauty
yeah.
necessarily,
And that's the thing where I'm like, again, I can only barely, if barely, if any, think of a handful of books where that's the case, where the girl is funnier than the guy. Like, and I also think about the fact that this is, not that I know the full history of YA novels, but like, maybe that 90s to 2000s is when this as a genre is really taking off. Like, so this is early in the genre. This is early
hmm
thing. And these are really, there's a reason why I think this book is still being printed today and still extremely popular today is that like, it is very empowering
Yeah.
to show, as you're saying, that like, hey, to show young women, be your own person. You can be your own
Yeah.
person, and that is feminist. That is empowering. That is the thing. Even no matter what situation you're in, you still have the right to your own mind, and that is invaluable. And jumping off that, I know that we have been ragging a lot on this movie, like, and rightfully so. But there is one interesting element that this movie introduces that no other Cinderella adaptation does, which is there is a whole political element of subjugation, which actually does tie into what we're talking about and tie into the theme of obedience. So I wanted to
Whew.
talk about it.
Yeah. And maybe you can speak to this a bit better, but in this world, King Edward has basically made
Edgar.
Edgar? That's what I said.
Edgar.
Edgar,
There's
yeah.
Edward.
So no, I said Edgar. Edgar.
I'm
Edgar.
sorry.
No, it's okay. Edgar has made, I think, any non-human, but we just see elves and right. It's any
Any
non-human.
non-humans.
So it's
Yeah,
okay.
so
So elves
everyone.
have to be performers, so they have to
Hmm.
be in musicals and stuff. And Slen the elf
Hmm.
really wants to be a lawyer. I forget what it is about ogres, and then giants are made to work in the fields.
I think ogres are like banned to the forest or something like
Okay,
that. Or
maybe ogres are banned to the forest.
like basically ogres are like now considered murderers, whereas like before they were
Oh,
like
okay. So ogres are, yeah, murderers. Giants are now like all field workers, kind of in,
mhm,
again, another, it is very similar to
slavery.
slavery. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But then there's also like a racial element because
Hmm.
the thing that in the movie and also in the book that forces Ella to embark on a journey to break the curse is because she is ordered to stop being friends with her best friend, Arita,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
who is Aorthian. And in the
Hmm.
movie, she's portrayed by, what was the actress's name? I had it pulled up.
Parminda Nagra.
Yeah, Parminda Nagra. And in the book, again, like because it's all a magical world, she's just described as a girl with like braids in her hair and the braids, a lot of little braids and, her hair is
Hmm.
up. So oh, and then to describe her skin is a bit darker. So like you think
Hmm.
of, a black person in the book.
Hmm.
So yeah, the initiating thing to want her to break her curse is the fact that she's told that she can't be friends with Arita, who is her best friend.
Mm. Hmm.
So, yeah, there's a racial hierarchy. Like, it's not just a special
Hmm.
hierarchy, it's also a race hierarchy within this fictional world of
Yes.
Frel, both in the movie and in
Yes.
the book a bit.
Yes.
Right? In the book too,
Yes.
yeah.
Less
Yeah.
so in the book, but definitely a little bit still there.
Yeah.
Less
Yeah, a lot less so in the
racial,
book.
less racialized, but there's definitely a hierarchy between the humans and the
Yeah,
species.
or at least someone like
Yeah.
her father is very, he looks down
He
on like
looks down.
other,
Yeah.
yeah, like he'll look
Yeah.
down on elves who are extremely skilled
Yeah.
craftsmen. But
Yeah.
yeah, in the movie, definitely. So yeah, it's a very
Yeah.
interesting political thing to
And a political thing,
introduce.
and it's an interesting. I thought it was actually cool that they added it both thematically, but also because it gives both characters something to do, both her and Char. Like she is a little activist, which again, I don't know how much they're making fun of the activist, but she's the activist. And Char has this whole plot line of like he doesn't really care to be king, and she teaches him to care about what's happening, to actually open his eyes to what's happening, to actually want to make a difference.
Yeah.
So it's very good characterization, but it is works really well with the theme of obedience and the theme of
Hmm.
disobedience. And like we haven't really talked about Slannon, but I thought he was a great character. I love the fact that he wants to be a lawyer. I just think that's really great and funny, honestly. The way he keeps trying to like lawyer speak everyone. um,
Yeah.
and but I think that was important that actually at some point I don't even think he gets to be a lawyer at the end, which is really sad. They kind of forget about him by the end.
Everybody is forgotten by the end. You don't even realize that she's friends with Arita again at the end because Arita just catches a
Yeah.
bouquet. Like she's kind of in the background dancing, but I'm like,
Yeah, but that's
maybe
it.
touch on that more because that was the whole jumping off
That
point
was
for
the
the
whole
entire
point.
film. Maybe
I
touch on the
goodness.
fact that she makes good friends with her again. Like,
Yeah, like this movie, I'm
I
telling
hate
you.
the ending so much. But yeah.
But the point being that Slannon also is fighting back. He feels
Yeah.
like he cannot do anything, and all these characters are caught in these rules and these laws that they cannot break from, and yet it's a whole story of these characters breaking free from what they know.
Yeah, that's entirely true. And the prince is really included in that. And the whole thing is
Hmm.
that his parents died when he was young. So Edgar took over and has been running the country. And
Hmm.
the prince is very, very laid back. And I will say this element is extremely similar to Ever After. I mean,
Hmm.
his parents are alive in Ever After, but he is like a prince who just wants to like run off and be free, and he has no interest. And
Hmm.
through meeting Danielle, who is like the Cinderella character played by
Hmm.
Drew Barrymore, through meeting her, she kind of really introduces him to like the love of literature and this idea of educating people and empowering people and not having this economic imbalance in which people aren't able to she has the book
Hmm.
Utopia, so these themes of utopia are really like embedded in the film,
Hmm.
but it's similar in the
Hmm.
movie, and I found that so interesting that like as a girl who is as a girl who is cursed to be obedient and has to follow the rules, she really rails against the rules. Like she really fights for equality
Yeah,
and
it gives her a reason to fight against the rules.
yeah, and it's much more like it's much more it means a lot more to her because she's like I
Hmm.
have to like abide by this. I have to stick to this, but like what is the point of this hierarchy? What is the point of you oppressing other people for your own benefit? And Char is just completely he himself grows up in the movie a bit because he has no idea of his power. And I guess it's again it's
Hmm.
such a like parallel to being obedient because
Hmm.
if you have a person who's cursed to be obedient and you have someone who's not, they don't realize how much power they have over the
Yeah.
obedient person. And you can say things
Hmm.
that are not that you don't think are that big of a deal, but it's such an effect. And
Hmm.
they liken it to a more bigger political situation where things are just said, like giants work the
Hmm.
field and
Hmm.
elves got to be performers. And you don't think that's a big deal because the elfish culture is very rich in performative arts. But you still have a character like Slan who doesn't want that. Like you can't say these blanket
Yeah.
things. You can't put people in these wide, like, what's the word?
Hmm.
Like groups, you know? Like you
Hmm.
can't ignore people's
Hmm.
individuality, their own contributing. You can't force people to do certain things based on what they look like.
Yep.
Um, yeah, and I think it's a very interesting idea that Edgar, I think, is like you don't see like it's almost like Edgar he's evil, but this is not the way you see him being evil in a way. You know,
Yeah.
like he's been evil and this is just the state of the world. And Char is like waking up to how it's actually affecting people because he goes on the journey
Hmm.
with Ella. So he
Hmm.
talks to Slanted, he talks to the giants. Like he's starting to
Hmm.
interact with these people and see how their lives are affected by these rules where he
Hmm.
wasn't before.
Hmm.
Um, and I guess my point is like there's something from like a top-down mentality where the effects can be felt so deeply and it's not always it's like a disproportionate understanding, you know? Like at the top
Yeah.
it may not seem that big of a
Yeah.
deal, but the effects are felt so
Yeah. Hmm.
deeply. And it's another layer of the feminism aspect that we were talking about, in which this girl is so empowered to do something about it and to have a
Hmm.
voice and to at least use it towards something,
Hmm.
to make herself feel heard and to make others feel heard.
Yeah. It's this happens in the book and the movie, but she says something to the effect of like um in the book I think she says like no one should be told what to do or nobody should be told they have to do what they don't want to do and something in the book she says something that's just like take it from someone who knows the movie I mean she takes it take it from someone who knows and while it's not like a perfect one-to-one of like her obedience is the same thing as like the political subjugation, both in the fairy tale world and also in the real world today. But like, it does still all really relate to each other. And you're right, like yeah, like the top does have this influence upon others, and they don't even realize it. And it's not until you lose that ability to make choices or that ability to obey or disobey, then you're like, oh shit, like it's not until you're down there that you're like, oh shit, this is not good and we have to fight against it. Um,
Yeah. And I think I think again, like I go back to Gail Carson Levine because I think she's so
mhm,
genius in this, is that you and I are looking at this children's story and we're pulling all these larger elements, like real world
mhm,
elements from it. But who's to say that she didn't do it in reverse? You know, who's to
mhm.
say that she didn't look at these real world elements and that's what children's stories do. Like they take these
Mhm.
real world things and they filter it and filter it and filter it and reduce it to something to teach a child. And,
Yes.
you know, and you're instilling this thing. And yeah, I just think it's so well done to like just have your own mind and just to fight for what you believe is right,
Mhm.
despite, you know, your situation.
Mhm. I think that's a really, I completely agree. Like, I think Gail Carson Levine is an incredible writer, and I think that she has boiled down this really complex idea to ways that, like, both that it can resonate with young kids and young people, but even resonates with us today, because clearly we're still reading this 20 years later. How
Yeah.
old am
Yeah.
I?
I think, wait,
Like
no, 30.
29, 30 years
Next year
later.
will be 30. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Reading 30 years later, and it's still relevant.
Oh God, it's still
Oh
relevant,
shoot.
man. I reread it. I'm not done. I have about a third
Hmm.
left, but I'm like,
Hmm.
I've reread this thing for this movie and I'm like, still good.
Still
Still
good.
good. Still
Still holds
rich.
up. We're talking about the specific adaptation of Cinderella, but I think this is one of the reasons why Cinderella has always lasted, is that it is a story about surviving hard times, however way you survive it. And I like that this version is telling you to survive by being yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Great lesson to take from it.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, but there's also another reason why we kind of wanted to talk about this film today.
Yes. They announced this like 2, 3 weeks ago, but they are coming out with a new adaptation of Ella Enchanted TV show, but it is still not based on the book. It is still not.
I'm like, I read the book and I'm like, it's a great story. Like, why
It's
can't you just make
so,
this into, this would be a great TV series. It's
it
very
would
like,
be great. That's the thing. It would be a great TV series. Like, I get it. As I said earlier, like, a lot of it is in through letters and a lot of it's very passive. Like, I get why maybe it doesn't work as a movie, but I was like, a TV show, you could figure it out. But apparently, this is a new TV show for Disney Plus that Anne Hathaway is producing. And it is about Ella at boarding school as she figures out
oh,
her curse. She does still
oh,
meet the prince, but it sounds a little bit like it's gonna be its own story. Um,
yeah,
which at
because
that
her,
point I'm oh yeah, go on.
I was gonna say, yeah, her boarding school, it's not a very significant part of the book. She's only there for like 2 months, and it's just a very
Mm,
quick chapter about
I always
Yeah.
thought it was a lot longer. I didn't realize it was so short.
Maybe like 2.5, 3 months. Yeah, she's not there
Yeah.
that long, but you don't get much insight. It's really just about how
Yeah.
she tries to do better. So it's interesting if they make a whole season out of it.
I think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting because again, the curse of obedience is an interesting thing to apply. Like I was saying earlier, it applies applying it to a modern world with advertising is one thing. I think it'd be interesting to apply to a school. However, if you're changing the whole story again, why not just make a new story?
I don't know, but I do like that they are. It's like they're paying homage to the author
Mm,
and her idea of obedience within the Cinderella concept, or this
hmm
obedience in a fairy tale world. But
hmm
yeah, it's like, why not just do the whole different story?
I don't know.
I
You
don't
already have
know.
there's already a perfect version of the story that exists. That's what I say.
Yeah. And I'm also like, if she is the executive producer of it, then I'm like, is it closer to the book or is it closer to the film? Like, is it going to be a very
Yeah.
similar, which could still be very fun. I think that could be a lot of fun because we've
Or yeah.
seen, yeah, stuff like that where it's a very like modern take on a period piece.
Yeah.
And I
There's
think
a
it'd be
great
very interesting.
as as I said, there's a whole genre of modern fairy tales that are really fun. Like there's a lot of
Hmm.
really great ones. That's a good question. I'm excited to see what she does. I don't know 100% how I feel about this, and I might just go reread the book.
I know. Yeah. I'm very particular about what I give energy to because I feel like our attention is energy. So like I
hmm
will definitely maybe watch the pilot, but if I feel like it is, I don't know. Part of me wants to
Yeah,
really, really support Gail Carson Levine because I'm like, you did a good job.
did
If
a
you're
good
getting
job.
a cut from this, I'll support you. But if it's just ridiculous, I may not watch it.
Yeah, agreed, agreed. We will see. And I think
Yeah.
we might do a touch base on this later.
Yeah, maybe we gotta touch base on this. Yeah. But
Yeah.
that is all we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want to follow us, you can follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Real Thesis Pod. If you want to email us, give us any suggestions or shout us out, ask questions or anything about stuff we've covered or just anything at all, you can
Yeah.
email us at realthesispod@gmail.com and we will
And
see you next
please,
time.
I was gonna say, please like, comment, and subscribe below so we
Yes.
increase getting our reviews on YouTube. And thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for joining our Book Smart Girl Hang, talking about Ella Enchanted and Cinderella.
Yeah, we'll definitely do more of this. So yeah, we'll see you next time.
See you. Bye.